it's Joy, and today I'm going to be watching The Rings of Power Season 1, Episode 5, Partings. I'm very excited to see what's happening next. We finally got some progress towards Galadriel having an army or forces or people behind her to go and try and confront the evil that is growing, and I am excited. A reminder that, as always, you can find the unedited version of this reaction in my Patreon 2 weeks in advance, the edited version 1 week in advance, and let's go.
There's 100 perils between here and there.
Seems a dangerous way to live.
Perils?
Like a danger.
I'm peril.
No, you're not.
Could be. That's what...
Firefly.
That was just an accident.
Mm.
You're good.
You had the capability to be a peril, but you were not a peril.
Good.
We hope.
You're good.
Time is passing. They have each other though. Well, this is ominous. This is very ominous. Who are you?
Who will stand with me?
Your
Who among
king
you will stand?
might be coming. He also might not be coming.
Take our chances bowing to the supposed enemy.
I have looked that enemy in the eye.
Honestly, it's probably
It's
better
not
to
your
die.
deliverance.
Together we can survive this.
Follow me, and together we will. Come on.
All of them? I mean, Theo's friend is an idiot, so fair enough. You know it's wrong. Do not leave your mother.
In your words. I don't have words for it.
Something he chooses to do, not something he
That's why I'm
sort of
trying
has
so
no
hard
other
to find
option
it.
to do.
Slip me to the front of the line.
Nepotism, sir.
I'm certain your fellowship will prove just as invaluable once you make landfall.
Landfall.
Galadriel has sold him as the prince that wants to return, and he's like, no, this place is nice and safe and wealthy, and like people have a good life here. I want to stay.
Galadriel.
And place a crown upon your head. Many might assume you used me.
He didn't want that. No one you care for in the Southlands? Fellow people in suffering who could use your help?
I don't like it.
Come on. We need the big man to come and save the day, right? He's good. He helps. Yeah. Which, given that the elves struggle against the orcs, how skillful she is will show you. I mean, both sides, the orcs struggle against the elves too, but like, this is a better test of their skill. Should show you a little bit of, you know, this is all for fun, just spill a little bit of blood or whatever.
Keep moving.
But against the orcs, your lives will be on the line. If that was your shop, you would not be pleased they were doing it here. Has he done it?
Never trust brute force to best an orc.
But he did it.
Well done, Lieutenant.
Is it folly to try and stop a war?
It's folly to kick against the current.
The war is happening whatever you want. It's whether your people...
Fall and sweep him out to sea.
Your only hope is that you won't personally suffer in the war. The war will happen over there and you can continue to live in ignorance. That is a very ordinary way to look at things and to live, and it's an understandable thing to do. But who's to say the orcs won't think, that's a nice island, I want it.
Wars, forests, trade, tribute. I wouldn't dare stop that, not for all the salt in the sea.
Power and resources is what he cares about, not saving people or doing the right thing.
But Father, what awaits me?
Is this just a father's concern? Or some vision he also had? He's like childlike learning in a lot of ways.
Hey,
Nori! He's still learning how to be him and who he is. That was scary, but who are I just want to know. I have theories about who he is, and I just don't know. He could be anything from Gandalf to one of the other wizards to something totally unrelated.
Your Grace. To the union of our two peoples.
Diplomacy is a tricky business.
Forging of their conflict. A power.
Power. As pure and light.
It has waited.
It waits
Durin
no
was
longer.
right.
Then you admit the dwarves did find it. The ore containing the light of...
I promised Durin never to reveal his people's secrets.
He just
And
did,
what
but
if keeping your promise to his people meant ensuring the doom of your own?
that is what I said last episode when he was asking him to promise, and he was like, oh, promise, because he's an elf and he's loyal to the elves. Where do you, like, it does compromise what your sense of duty is between the two. Like, if there's a valid reason the elves would need it, sure, like, but if it's just the elves want power, then it doesn't sacrifice anything.
Hoped that by sending her away and so bringing an end to the last vestiges of war, we might arrest the decay.
Explains why he was so
Despite our
desperate to get rid
every
of her and
effort,
prove and declare that
our decline has only quickened.
maybe it's because the war's
Light
not
upon
over
this
and your
tale
enemy
but
is
an outer
returning.
manifestation of an inner reality is fading.
Possibly because you're ignoring the threat that's coming.
Did the dwarves find the ore or not?
This is where his loyalties are truly tested, because there's a potentially valid reason the elves would need to
I
know.
swore an oath to Durin.
Which answers your question, really. Because if they hadn't found anything, what would he have needed to swear an oath about?
It is by
Their
such
emerald
things
collection?
that very souls.
Consider your oath. I suggest you find another.
Maybe you could approach the dwarves honestly and say, look, we think you found this thing. We really need it. And these are the reasons we really need it. Yes, maybe the dwarves would say, no, it's ours, fuck off. But, like, why can't you approach the dwarves with honesty rather than fake friendship? You're in a tough spot. Talk to the dwarves.
Going to be dangerous. I wager it'll all be over by the time I get off the boat.
Just don't tell my father. He keeps crowing to everyone with ears. His future son-in-law's a war hero.
That is just so interesting, because it's truly, it's what I was saying in the previous episode when they were also eagerly volunteering for this great fun adventure. Really reminding me of the early days of World War I, when loads and loads of people volunteered thinking, oh my god, it's been such a great adventure, glory, and representing our country. It'll all be over by Christmas. And we know how that turned out.
Sing, come on.
Commending you for a duty that you might well decide. It'll be different this time.
No one can guarantee that. And it's not going to be the fun, glorious adventure. Are you trying to ruin the plan so it can't happen? Foolish boy.
Are you stowing away?
Yes, I'm destroying the ship.
Don't.
Is he going to earn his way on board by stopping the ship burning, or are they going to think he set the ship to burn? Oh lord. Did it take out any other ships?
Hurry!
He was in a fishing boat. A cask must have gone up.
A cask?
You could have told them what he did.
And like you, not you yourself.
You can make better choices for the people that are relying on you.
You don't know what I did before I ended up on that raft.
Sometimes to find the light, we must first touch the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you keep fighting?
Because I cannot stop.
She's honest. She's not really hidden this fact.
No lasting peace in any path, but that which lies across the sea.
Know what
I
you
have
need
fought
to
for
do.
centuries seeking to earn mine.
See, being vulnerable with people, letting them in, being truthful with them, that is how you make an impact. Whatever he decides now, he will truly decide rather than just pulling away from someone that isn't being vulnerable and open and honest.
Pledge my loyalty to Sauron.
He is a bold one.
You are Sauron, are you not?
Is he not? I truly don't know. Jesus Christ.
Only blood can bind.
Surely you'd rather have the young person kill the old person. The young one's more useful to you. Many more years of service in him than some old dude. He's gonna do it. Sorry, kid.
Why be buried with us?
Because in counting the whispers and the knives, I've come to know the voices and the hands of those behind them.
Half of us just left.
Half of you stayed.
Half stayed.
And most of the half that
Including
left
you.
were just afraid. I don't believe all of them were loyal to the evil. Baldric definitely was, but...
There's something you don't know.
Oh, is he going to tell him finally? Oh, thank you for finally telling someone, child.
We can survive this, Bronwyn. There is a way. There must be.
Surely by now the elves will notice that their scouts didn't return, or the people stationed didn't return to them, or send a message, or...
And you take away everything.
You were right to watch us. Because we are destined for the darkness.
Desperate people. If they'd gone to a different land, those people would have ended up having to surrender too. Many of them.
Perhaps that's who we are.
The Yorks are having a good time. I preferred the Harfoot's travelling song, personally.
I have not been truthful with you, Durin.
You
I did
didn't
not come to
know.
Khazad-dûm for friendship, but ambition. I did not know it without it. My kind must either abandon these shores by spring or perish.
Perish.
See, honesty, this is the way you do it. Whatever happens now.
The fate of the entire elven race is in my hands.
Yep.
Say that again.
The fate of the entire elven race.
Let's start walking. Don't thank me yet. Thank me after we find a way to convince my father. Can we please get
See,
moving?
this is what I was saying. If you just approach the dwarves with honesty,
This sunlight is starting to give me a sour stomach.
especially with their friendship, but
One condition.
you know the right thing to do. For yourself and for the people that would rely on you. He is gonna do it. Certainly an upgrade to his castaway look. Emphasis on the two human rulers. Little boys thinking they're going off to glory. But it is a cause to try and help people. Oh, he earned his part. This is so like boys going off to like World War I or whatever with no idea where they were going. In this case, I think it's boys and girls, if I'm not mistaken, but how many of them will ever be seen again? So they go. Doesn't seem like very many people. And where are the horses he was supposed to care for? But it is something. Okay, so definitely still a lot to uncover in terms of who the man that is with Nori is. You know, my leading thought is that he's going to turn out to be Gandalf, and that would kind of explain Gandalf's affinity to hobbits, even if they're not yet hobbits. I wonder whether they're just Harfoots because they haven't settled in the Shire. Which I want to know these things. I don't know things, but I love to learn them. As long as it's not like a spoiler for the show, tell me things. So my initial guess would be that he is going to turn out to be Gandalf. Potentially he could turn out to be one of the other wizards we've met. Maybe even the wizard that was like evil. But it's just, who is he? What is he? Because he could be something totally unrelated to that. He could be something linked to Sauron. There were those people hunting, looking for him, searching for him. They looked creepy. That doesn't necessarily mean they are creepy, although they did have creepy music playing at the time that they were on screen. Now, obviously, what I've been saying since he first appeared is that he either appears like a child that you want to help or like a terrifying person that you want to run away from. And that has continued. Most of this episode, he was sort of at the beginning learning words and understanding things and then thinking, I'm peril, I'm bad because I caused those things to die and thing. By the end of the episode, he's accidentally using his magical healing freeze on Nori and then causing her pain and making her run off. Like, he's still learning to navigate the world. And the truth with that is that as much as right now he seems to be good, he's choosing to help, that could change and we don't know who he is. If he's not Gandalf, he could well turn out to not be good. It's very interesting. And the whole Hobbit Harfoot way of life is very, very intriguing here. The kind of migration and how dangerous it is. Obviously, throughout all of human history, there are people who have been migratory. There have been, nomadic lifestyles, nomadic peoples. Some people still live like that to this day. But the level of danger they go through, it shows you just how, for the Harfoots in particular, how staying in one place is not an option because it would be so much safer for them to find a good place and stay there. And it's just so interesting that instead they do this perilous journey where they're kind of together but completely separate, never leave anybody behind apart from those people that we do leave behind. I liked that when he risked his life and he saved them from the wolves, they were immediately then accepted him. It's just going to be interesting to see how this all shapes out going forwards. Then the people in Ostirith, I'm learning. I don't blame the majority of the people who left the tower. I don't love them. I don't think like, yeah, good for you. But I understand on a purely human survival instinct, if we stay in this tower, they're going to come and kill us. They've told us we can live if we can leave. I want to live. I want my children to live. We'll go. Clearly, it was, it's not just like the rival kingdom. It is like Sauron. I don't know whether it is Sauron or not. I'm still undecided and I don't know. But it's, they think it's Sauron, don't they? Regardless. And orcs, it's not like, oh, the king from over yonder, over the river. He wants to take over the land now. It is big, bad, evil people. But when you're desperate and afraid and you're in this tower with there's not enough of you to repel a besieging force, what the frick are you going to do? You're running out of food. I don't blame the majority of them for thinking, I just want to live, I just want to be safe. The old man, Baldric, I believe his name was, I think that was like, the poor boy is like, Baldric, please don't kill me. He is obviously, something about having that sheath, that weapon in his possession for so long seems to have warped his brain. Potentially he was raised by people who had been raised by people who were loyal, because these kind of ideologies, you're not born with them, but if you're raised by somebody who shares them, then they can keep it going even when the wider world has moved away from that ideology. So that was interesting. I'm glad Theo didn't go with him. He looked freaking tempted. I feel very sorry for the kid who died. And I wondered, did every single person have to kill somebody else to choose to stay? I do still think, from a logistical standpoint, I would have had the teenager kill the older man because I'd have got a few more years of work out of a teenager. Just common sense with your pawns, with your peasants. That was pretty horrific, but again, I was expecting something horrific to happen because it's, Adar, who could be Sauron, is Sauron adjacent at least, and orcs. It's never a fun time. Back in the tower, I can understand Bronwyn feeling completely and utterly hopeless. It was hopeless enough when they had twice as many people as they do now. Now their numbers are down. How on earth are they supposed to fight? These people aren't trained fighters. They have one elf. What are they going to do? As far as they know, nobody is coming to their aid. It's been a while. People could have come if they were coming. Now we know that Galadriel and their forces, they don't necessarily... Oh no, they do know they're going to the Tower of Ostirith because he figured out that was probably where they were headed. So their forces are coming, but it depends on how long it's going to take them to sail from Numenor. How far can they sail? Like, is there a river they could sail up to get right to the tower? Like, I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm also not entirely sure chronologically when these things are taking place. If it is taking place at the same time like it appears, because obviously the Harfoots, they've been travelling and travelling and travelling. So I feel as though the timelines, it's not like The Witcher season 1 where the timelines are like decades different. I feel like we're in the same kind of time period. It's just until the stories meet up with each other, they might be slightly out of sync. So hopefully help is just around the corner. I mean, obviously the elves, who I will get to, they know something is bad, but maybe it's been doing that when it freaks out. That wasn't good. Maybe the elves have seen that something is happening, something is going wrong. The tree is dying, their light is fading. I would hazard a guess that letting the orcs and the evil rise again and not doing anything about it is probably not helping the situation. Don't know whether he is aware of that yet, but surely, you know, the elves from the tower were being recalled. So if that's the case, they haven't returned home yet. They haven't sent forward a messenger. You haven't heard anything from them. At some point, you've got to figure out there is something wrong at that outpost, and maybe at all of your other outposts in the area. Maybe there is only one. I don't know. So I would like to think everybody else might come and do something to help at some point. But Galadriel and co are on their way finally, so that is some hope for them, but obviously they have no way of knowing that fact. I am very, very thankful that Theo finally told a grown-up that wasn't creepy about the sheath, the weapon that he had, the creepy thing that makes him see creepy visions. He told someone. I think it was sweet to kind of see that Arondir earned his trust from saving his life and then continuing to stay with them, continuing to sort of say that, like, yeah, as much as I was one of those elves that, you know, was always looking over your shoulder, always, my whole purpose was to just spy on you essentially, but there is more to that. I learned that there is more to you than just your people's past, and I think the fact that he's sticking around with them, the fact that he is staying instead of just like booking it to try and get back to Elflands, that he does seem to care about them, has sort of opened up Theo's trust, which is very important because he finally told someone he had the thing. They now know, of course, that there is no way the orcs are not going to come, because not only is it just a holdout of people who are resistant to them, and you could kind of think maybe with the wider plans they have, they could leave that one tower alone, we'll deal with that later, but given that they have something the orcs desperately want, they're not going to let them pass, so it's added terror. But it's just, I'm very thankful that the boy is not sneaking that under his pillow anymore. And I just, Galadriel, hurry up. And then if we go to the elves at large, the tree dying, their immortal souls dying. Now, obviously their immortal souls don't die, and they aren't forced to leave by spring, because that doesn't happen for a while. They do all leave, but it is for some time in the future, which is sort of, in a way, comforting to know. The whole world isn't going to end. Things are going to be set in motion potentially that are going to take thousands of years to unravel and be fixed, but the world won't end at large. That being said, there's definitely a lot of shady diplomacy and politics and a lot of mistrust between the different races. I understand, you know, if you live so separately from each other, how can you trust? I love that Durin made up his whole emotional speech about the table. That was ridiculous. And definitely Elrond is in this unique position of being truly close with Durin and appreciative of his people and their culture, and not just caring about it because diplomacy requires me to care, which I got from the king, but caring about it because he truly does care about it. So then be told, you know, in the last episode when he made his vow, I was saying, well, what are you going to do? Like, if the elves are like, hey, you're an elf, be loyal to us, tell us this thing. I do think it showed a lot of integrity, him being like, I'm not breaking my oath, but I do still maintain that the very fact that he had an oath to not break showed you that there was something he was hiding. You know, if it wasn't Mithril, he would have been like, it's not Mithril, that's cool, and then he wouldn't have been breaking his oath. But obviously they needed him to either steal the stuff or prove it was there so the elves could try and take it by force or whatever. I do wonder if the king wanted him to just tell Durin and get it from him that way. Because honestly, like, if the elves had approached the dwarves diplomatically and been like, look, we really need this stuff for like a reason, we'll help you get it, we'll help find it, like we'll come to something, maybe the dwarves would have said no. Maybe because, you know, these species aren't like helping species races, they don't help each other out very much. These cultures are so separate, they live different lives, there's no reason for them to care in a lot of ways. But I also think that if the elves leaving truly would have a great effect, I don't think that they would have been like, no. They would have come to some kind of agreement that I imagine they will sort of have to come to anyway. So all this shady stuff going on, you could have just been diplomatic and approached them, and you could have just sent Elrond as the emissary because you know he has a friend there. But I'm glad Elrond took the plight of his people seriously. He wasn't like some idiot like, my oath means that I will let us die rather than break it. Instead, he just went to Durin and he was honest. He was like, look, I was sent there under false pretenses. I didn't know it at the time, but I was. And also, this is the plight. It's this bad. We're all going to die. And the fact that Durin was like, oh, that is serious. I'm going to enjoy the fact that I have all elves alive in my hands. I'm powerful. I really, really enjoyed that scene, and it made me really like Elrond and Durin as characters a lot more. I don't trust the Elven King, though. I kind of trust that maybe he does want to do what's best for his people, but sometimes rulers can be like, I want to do what's best for my people and I don't care if it hurts other people, and that is not okay. Then we go across the seas to Nurenmore. Whenever I go to talk about this in my freaking reaction review portion, I'm like, what is this island called? We're going to call it Nurenmore. Nurenmore. I'm so sorry, brain fog is not kind. I thought it was very interesting to see that there were people who were desperate for this to not happen. And I completely understand it. It's sort of arguments we have today with like, how much should we risk of our own people and resources to go and help people from other places. I think if you have the ability to help, you should do so. Obviously, in this case as well, it's pretty black and white. Orcs under like Sauron, as far as everyone's aware, who knows if this man is Sauron? I'm going to call him Sauron for now. Orcs under Sauron are invading. They are killing people. It is not a black. It is a black and white situation. It isn't really a grey area of, well, you know, are we just going into another country and meddling with their affairs like in modern day politics and stuff. In this scenario, there is no ethical violation in Nurenmore going to help. Maybe slightly if they're doing it so that they can then lord it over the people in that place for the rest of the time, as the Chancellor dude said. But again, like, they'll have their lives. Maybe they'll be okay with that until eventually they can be like, well, yeah, we're not going to send you any more tribute, okay? We've done that. And they're not just doing it for the elf. I can understand how obviously the ordinary people have not been told there is a prophecy of a great wave coming unless we do something about it, and I'm trying to do something about it. That might change their minds as well. As far as they can see, an elf came and suddenly we're off to war to help people in a land that none of us have ever been to. I can understand why they're hesitant, and you know, as much as I support them going, I do think that they should be doing this. They should be going to try and help. It hurts to watch these young idealistic faces laughing and joking and thinking about the glory they're going to get and joking that it's going to be over before they're off the boat, because it is so reminiscent of soldiers going off to World War One, volunteering, thinking it was going to be glorious and wonderful, and oh wait, actually it's hell on earth and we're all dead now or traumatized for the rest of our lives. You know, it's going to war against the orcs. It's not going to be a glorious adventure. It's going to be awful and it's going to change these people for forever, but it is still, it's necessary. It's just hard to watch them knowing that they don't really know what they're volunteering for, if that makes sense. Big moves in this episode were obviously Halbrand coming to terms with who he is, what his destiny is, and what his destiny can be going forward. And by that, I kind of feel like he doesn't need to be dragged down by his past, whether it's his ancestors or whatever he had to do to survive. Sometimes you have to do shitty things to survive. Now, we don't know what those things were yet. Maybe he will say something and I'll be like, whoa, that is a line you should never have crossed under any circumstances. But for now, I'm going to assume it wasn't. Sometimes to survive, you have to do terrible things. It's why I don't blame the people that left the tower to go and want to kneel to the orcs. They just wanted to live. I don't love them. The people that then turn around and are like, I'm going to hurt somebody else to live, I question that a bit more. But even then, you can sort of understand it. You know, I'd like to think if I were in that scenario, I would be brave enough to be like, no, I'm not doing it. Who frickin' knows? And until you're actually in that situation. But to see him kind of take the mantle on of the leadership and knowing what it means, the fact that people in the town have been saying our king will return. But in the first episode, when the boy, rest in peace boy, said, we've got a king that's going to return, I thought he meant Sauron, and that's why I was kind of like, whoa, kid. And that boy had been like a red flag until it was in the previous leak that he said that, and I was like, he meant Halbrand. Not that he knew he meant Halbrand, but he meant the human king. So it made it a lot less radical, but he just was like, we'll have a leader that will stand up for us, and he does. He is coming now. And that, as much as in the real world I'm against monarchies, in fantasy Dark Kingdoms where the monarchs actually lead their armies into battle and make decisions and care about their people, and you know, in this situation they need somebody to unite behind, they need somebody to take the mantle of leadership and guide his people to survive this awful mess and hopefully build something out of it. Galadriel got what she wanted. She has her army. She's going to war, and she's very much still dealing with obviously the kind of eternal fight mode. She is a soldier who cannot switch off that part of her brain. What's going to be interesting is to see, if we get to see it, is to see her when I'm assuming this. I know there's a season 2 coming, right? I'm not expecting in season 1 they're going to defeat the enemy, because I'm pretty sure there's a season 2 coming. But at some point, surely they're going to think all is well. They're going to make the rings of power, and they're going to think that they've quelled everything for now. Maybe they'll know that there is still a threat lurking out there, because obviously the threat is still lurking out there for a while, but they think they've done it and they've solved the day and they've saved everybody, and that there is no evidence that there is anything out there. It would be very interesting to see what Galadriel does then. I'm not necessarily expecting her to be like, I'm now a hippie, peace-loving person. I'm sure she will always want to be a little bit on guard, make sure that their defenses are up and things like that. But in that initial moment of there is no one to fight, you've done it, you've saved everybody, you've solved things. How hard will it be for her to rest? Or when she looks around and she sees that the threat truly is over and she has done it and there is nothing else out there, will she actually be like, oh, thank God, and just, sleep for 1,000 years? Very interesting character study. She is a very interesting character to follow. I really enjoyed this episode. I'm enjoying the way all these plot strands are coming together. Some of them I'm like, how are they going to come together? But I'm very, very intrigued. Thank you so much for watching.